transformation, one man at a time, one community at a time. For again, for the benefits of the new attendees, we have been in existence now for almost 2 decades. And one of the products that we have in this NGO is the product that we are having the session today. It is called HeyCoach. HeyCoach is a product from the stable of Development, Empowerment, and Leadership Initiative. And what we are about is to facilitate knowledge sharing, experience sharing with professionals. Whether you are an employee or you are an entrepreneur, the whole idea is don't fly blind, don't do unnecessary guesswork. If you need a coach, you can get one on the fly by just reaching out to us on any of our social media channels or by going to any of the programs that we normally will run, see the knowledge that has been shared by other people and be guided by that so that you do not repeat mistakes that have been made by other people. And like we will always say on this program, that we are not, this is not just a training, even though it looks like one, even though the nearest label you may want to give to it is training. We go beyond training. What we are trying to do is experience sharing. And because it's experience sharing, we try to make it as interactive and participative as possible. Therefore, please give us your attention. If you are in a place where it is quiet, you can actually leave your mic on all through, because we are more interested in hearing your voice and feeling your emotions than just text. And as we get bigger, we are looking forward to having more of you participate in the day-to-day running of the program. All right. So today, somebody is jamming my network. Who is that person? Who is that person? Okay, that's stop.
Please go ahead.
All right, thank you, producer. So, because it's very participative, we also like to request that if you have to contribute, please do your best to put it under 2 minutes, because the more the voices around the table, the richer the experience from the program. So that's where we are. And what are we focusing on today? What are we focusing on this week? All-round wellness in an unwell economy. This is a series that we started in February. So we had the February intro, we had March for medical, we had April for the first run of mental health. Now we have May, where today we are focusing on nutritional wellness. That's our focus for today, nutritional wellness. And we are very, very blessed to have with us Mr. Taiwo Babatope, who is the anchor for today. I will get to his bio in a bit. But it will interest you, like I said, to know that this has been the journey so far, even though what we are planning to do after this nutritional is to have another run of mental wellness. Reason being, it's something that has gotten a lot of attention right now. And as I will touch on in a bit, it is the foundation for everything else. That's why they say mind over matter. If your mind is not in a good place, not only does it affect the body, it affects everything else. So on the back of the last one we had, which was beautifully done by Dr. Iyauromi from I think on Alberta, Canada, we had the need to do another run of mental wellness. And for this one, we will be bringing a clinical psychologist So we will be approaching mental wellness now more from a more operational perspective, events, perception, interpretation, coping mechanics, all of those things. So you don't want to miss the next one. After this nutritional, we are going to have a rerun of the mental, and then we do physical, and of course, no fund, no fun. No fund, no fun. So we are going to then land it with financial. Hopefully, by the time we are done, the desire is that we will have contributed something towards your wellness, that you will go on and be more sound. Because when we talk about health, health is not just the absence of sickness. It is not just the absence of disease. Health, or if you like, wellness, as defined by the WHO, is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Physical, mental, social. So even though you are not going to the hospital, even though you are not popping any pill, it still doesn't mean that you are necessarily healthy or well. Before it gets out of hand is why we are having this series, so that we can be ahead of the curve. Because as it is in Nigeria, it is in many parts of the world. And all these things that I'm putting on the screen, they are affecting us. Job, money, uncertainty on the business side, about your career, all these changes in the market, rent is going up. And today, we are focusing on how you eat and how it affects your health. All right. So, wellness, how do you achieve it? It's about being intentional about your habits. You are what you repeatedly do. It does not just happen. So you have to be intentional about it if you want to be healthy, if you want to be well. And therefore, wellness is not something that happens to you by accident. It's about the choices that you make. So today, we are going to these habits, we are going to these choices, particularly as they affect your nutrition. We are hoping that by attending this program, you become well aware, you become more aware of how what you eat affects your wellness. As you see in one of my slides, the foundational wealth is your health. The foundational wealth is your health. If your health is not standing, there's nothing else you can build on top of it. So this is not a nice to have. It is not an optional thing. If you really want to be wealthy, you have to focus on how to be healthy. If you want to be wealthy, you have to focus on how to be healthy. And that is why today we are taking this conversation forward by focusing on the nutritional part. As I've divided it, there is a mind part we did last month, we do again next month. There is everything else that is external, what you eat, how you move, how you sleep, and all of that. That is what we are focusing on today. And to guide us today, to share his wealth of knowledge with us, please go to the chat box, unmute your mic if you can, and jam your hand together as we welcome Mr. Taiwo Babatope. Let me see you in the chat room. Let me hear your voice. Say welcome. Let me hear your clap if you can. Who is he? He's a social scientist. He's a man of God. He's a researcher. He's an author. He's a speaker. And his interest has been around preventive medicine. Your foundational wealth is your health. So this is the best one of the best hands in the market that can help us to get to the point where we can prevent illness before they happen. And a big part of it is what we eat. So he is here today to share his experience with us, the outcome of many research that he's done, and he's also an author, Know Your Food. It would be nice to know how we can get that book, whether soft or hard copy. And if there are other services or programs that he has, I'm sure he will share it with us. But if you would like to connect with him on the metaverse, you will find him on Facebook on the link that is being shown. And I'm sure we'll be happy to drop that on the chat room for those who would like to copy it. So today, please welcome Mr. Taiwo Babatope. You are very, very welcome, sir. Trust that you are ready for us. So I have stopped sharing my video. Can we hear you? Come on and say something, sir. Mr. Babatope, please unmute your mic and you have the floor.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good
it's a great pleasure.
Can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. It's a great pleasure for me to be with you. And I want to appreciate the organizers of this program. And then I want to assure you that by the special grace of God, we're going to have a sweat time today. Thank you.
Can I just, I don't want to interrupt, but can you just, if it's possible, please just speak up a little bit more? Just a little?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome, sir. Okay. You want me to
Don't just to speak up a bit, but you have done that now. Just to speak up, just to speak a little louder, but it's fine now.
Okay, all right. Okay. I was thanking the organizers for inviting me to come and share my thoughts on this very vital subject of wellness. And at the same time, I'm welcoming everyone and I'm saying good evening, everyone. And now saying by the special grace of God, we're going to have a sweat time today. Thank you.
Go ahead, please. You have the floor. The floor is all yours.
All right. Oh, okay. Yes. I want to thank the moderator for the intro. He has really given a very good intro to this lecture. And I will not want to waste time on it. I will just go straight to the subject matter. Now we're looking at how to achieve wellness through nutrition. And I've broken this lecture into 3 parts. Part 1, we'll talk about the choices, the choice of food. Part 2, we talk about the preparation of food. And part 3, we'll talk about the eating habits. Now, these 3 tips will help us to be able to achieve physical wellness through nutrition. Now, let's start with the choice of food. Now, I want to ask us, what informs our choice of food? Some people choose their food based on the taste of that food. Some people, because of what they have seen being advertised, they assume is good food. Some people, because of tradition, what they were brought up with. Now, I want to say to us that whenever we want to choose what we want to eat, we should be health conscious. We should bother on what is going to benefit our body. Because foods are in 3 forms. We have beneficial form, we have neutral form, and we have detrimental form. Now, beneficial means food that act like medicine. They help us to be healthy, they help us to keep fit, they help us to fight diseases. Neutral form of food simply means foods that we just eat for eating sake. No benefit, no harm. We're just eating them probably to give ourselves a treat or to have our stomach feel something. And then the third form of food, which is detrimental form of food, is the one that act like poison. They are the triggers of all these life-threatening diseases, diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and what have you. So we must try as much as possible to eliminate detrimental food from our diet. Now, what may be very, very new to some of us is that our foods are not the same. Now, the idea of generalizing food for everybody is a wrong idea because from research, we've been able to discover that foods that are beneficial to some people may be detrimental to others. And this is according to a dietitian from Japan. His name is Dr. Peter Adamo. He made us to realize that we should eat according to our blood type. So what determines individual food is individual's blood type. And we have four of such. We have four common blood types. We have O, we have A, we have B, and we have AB. Normally they come with positive or negative signs, but those signs are insignificant. Once you are O, you are O. All O's react to their food, all A's react to theirs, while all B's react to theirs, and AB reacts to theirs. Now, the interesting thing in this theory is that because we have been asked over time to go for vegetarian diet to avoid foods that are from animal, sources. But we have discovered now that not everybody do well on vegetarian diet. Now, the major reason why people are advocating vegetarian diet is because meat actually takes time to digest. So they have asked us to stay away from meat because meat takes 4 days to digest. Now, we have discovered that some people have that liberty to eat meat because meat don't take 4 hours to digest in their own system. It takes just 40 minutes because they have high content of stomach acid that helps their meat to digest fast. So their meat digest in just 40 minutes, not 4 days like some other people. And those people happen to be O blood group. So O blood group remain meat eaters till tomorrow. They can eat meat and go scot-free because of the acid, their high content of stomach acid that they inherited from their forefathers who were hunters. So they can eat meat and go scot-free. But like I said, that foods are in 3 forms. Their meats are also in 3 forms. So they are not at liberty to eat all kinds of meat. So it is very, very expedient for people in that group to now try to find out which of the meats, are actually beneficial to them and which ones are neutral and which ones are detrimental so that they will be able to make right choices. Now, for instance, for beneficial meats for O blood group, one of them, in fact, number one of these happens to be beef. And of course, usually we know that we get beef from cow. And we've discovered that some cows, their beef actually have fat because of what they were being fed with. While some cows, their meat are fat-free. Now, any beef that comes from the grass-fed cow has no fat because they were feeding them with natural food. So if you are O blood group and you're looking for beneficial meat, then go to the market and look for beef that is from the grass-fed cow. And the simple way to know is to look at the color. So when you look at the color, you see, normally you see some beef that looks very, very red, that hardly can you see any white traces around them. Those ones are usually from the grass-fed cow. So those are very good for whole blood group. The other one that is not all that red, that has white all around it, are the one that have fat because of what they were feeding those cows with. They normally feed them with wheat, with grain, and so on. So that one should not be consumed all the time. So they go for the one that is natural, and they're good to go. And also, if they also want to choose from the intestine of meat, we have various type of intestine. We have the one they call towel. We have the one they call roundabout, and we have the one they call the, liver. So among all these intestine, the liver is a preferred choice for whole blood group. So that's for the beneficial. Now for the neutral meat, for them, chicken and turkey are in that category. So whenever they eat chicken and turkey, they're just eating neutral meat. No benefit, no harm. But they should try as much as possible to either stay away from pork meat or cut down on it, because that is detrimental to them. Another part of the meat that they should cut down on, which is not suitable for them, is the cow skin. So as whole blood group, in as much as you are at liberty to eat meat, you should try as much as possible to eat your meat without skin. So avoid the skin, the skin, the skin of meat, of cow, for instance, because it's an issue for your colon. The colon is the one that sewage fecal matters from system, while other fecal matters are being sewage from the system of whole blood. Cow skin remain there for a longer period. So, and it can lead to colon having serious issues. So they should cut down on cow skin. So that's about the meat for whole blood group. For A blood group, they are the vegetarians, that are the ones that have no business with meat. But as a matter of fact, research has shown that all meats are detrimental for A blood group, except the chicken and turkey that are neutral for them. And while they are shopping for those ones, they should try and avoid the frozen ones, because those frozen ones have issues in their stomach. So they should go for the live one, the fowls, kill it, and then enjoy it fresh. They might decide to freeze it themselves, but they should avoid the one that have been frozen for years, that are being imported to the country, and and other meats as well. In fact, the surprising thing in this theory is that this meat that we're talking about predisposes A blood group to all forms of cancer. And ironically, it prevents O from cancer. Why it predisposes A to cancer? It prevents O from it. So one man's meat actually is another man's poison. So that is what everybody should know while they're making the choices of their food. They should look for food that are beneficial to them. And then, of course, if you are B group happens to stand for balance of O and A diet. They are good to go with meat. They are good to go with vegetables and so on. But they also have their own staple food. Those staple food are other foods that we eat from animals apart from the meat. Foods like egg, like cheese, like milk are their own staple food. So everybody has food that is beneficial to him or her, or neutral or detrimental. That's what everybody should watch out. Okay. When we have this information, it will harm us. It will help us to be able to make right choices of food. That's one. Of course, our food are in about 15 categories, and we cannot start to break them down. Otherwise, we spend the whole time on that particular aspect. But I have a book that I've authored that I titled Know Your Food. That book is actually a bestseller. So I would recommend it. Everybody should get this book. You can contact me and request for a copy, and then take your time to study it. You will be surprised that if you follow these blueprints, you just find your system getting transformed, because there are a lot of testimonies that we have recorded concerning this material. The material is titled Know Your Food, and it's written in two languages, Yoruba and English. So, and then of course, to avoid any ambiguity, we have put the images of those food there. So everybody will see their food in those three forms: beneficial, neutral, and detrimental, irrespective of your blood group. So I like to recommend that material for us. Now, another thing that will help us to make right choice of our food is to have this understanding that foods are also in three states. While we have foods in three forms, we also have it in three states. Now, let me quickly explain the three states of food. Now, the first one is what we call natural states. The second one is what we call moderately processed states, while the third one is what we call highly processed states. So while you are making choices of your food, please make natural food your number one choice. Make moderately processed food your number two choice, and limit your intake of highly processed food. Let me give you some examples for instance. Now, so that you have a better understanding of what we're talking about. Now, if you want to drink an orange now as an individual and you have discovered that orange is suitable to your blood group, just take it naturally the way God has given it to us. Peel it, squeeze it, and drink it. Now, some of us, because of modernization or civilization, we have juicers. There is a machine that is called juicer that many of us have in our kitchen. That rather than going through the stress of peeling and squeezing all these fruits by ourselves, we decide to juice them. And when we juice them, it's also good because you still have them intact, 100% intact. I mean, not 100% intact again. The nutrients are not longer 100% intact because some of the nutrients will have been destroyed. I mean, doing the process of while I try to juice them, but it's still okay because there are no additives, added to it. So it's still 100% juice. I mean, orange juice. So it's still okay. That's what the one we call moderately processed that you can make a second choice. Now, the other one that we call highly processed, that you say you should limit your intake of them, are the one that are processed in the factory, that are already processed into some orange drinks. All those orange drinks, So we should limit your intake of those ones. Those are the ones that have issues because they have additives and preservatives, and those ones are not healthy for us. So we should limit our intake of those ones. Let me give you another example. Now, if you want to probably eat corn now, and you have discovered that, okay, corn is suitable for your blood group, all you need to do is just to boil your corn and eat your corn. That's natural food. That's the way God has given it to us. Okay, but if you decide to process your own corn into popcorn, it's still okay because it's moderately processed because you have only added sugar and some vegetable oil and so on. So you see, okay, that's what we call moderately processed. But when corn is processed into cornflakes, that's highly processed because a lot of things are already added to it. It's not only corn that is there again. So that is one we say you should limit your intake of. Let me give you another example. Maybe you want to eat yam now, and you just boil your yam and eat your yam. That's natural. But if you decide to pound that yam and it becomes pounded yam, then of course that's moderately processed. But when it has turned to pando yam, that's highly processed. The problem with this refined carbohydrate is that it takes time to burn their calorie up. Now, for instance, that if you eat pounded yam is carbohydrate. You ingest some calorie, okay? And if you do some brisk walking, maybe from maybe like 50 meters or thereabouts, you will have burned the calorie of that pounded yam. But if you eat pando yam, and to burn the calorie, you have to do extra work. You have to, probably jog some distance and, or play lawn tennis or thereabout before you can burn that calorie. So it is advisable to make unrefined carbohydrates as your choice, as a choice of food when you're choosing carbohydrate food. And please limit your intake of the refined one. Okay, now that's about the choice. Those two tips will help us to make right choices of our food. Once you now know that foods are in three forms: beneficial, neutral, and detrimental, and you also know now that foods are in three states: natural, moderately processed, and highly processed. So that will help us. Now, let me go to the second part of this lecture. which is the preparation of food. Now, you have made the choice now, good, but you have to prepare this food to eat because most of this food you need to prepare them, unlike fruits that you can eat them raw, but you have to prepare these other ones, you have to cook them. So how do you prepare them also matters a lot. Now, for instance, there are 4 methods of preparing food that, 4 common methods. We can prepare food through boiling, we can prepare food through frying, we can prepare food through baking, and we can also prepare food through roasting. Okay. But the two healthy methods of preparing foods are boiling and baking. The issue with frying and roasting is that some of the oil that we use in frying our foods have saturated fats that can increase one's blood cholesterol. So if you fry all the time, you are at the risk of developing blood cholesterol that can increase your rate of heart problem. So you should please cut down on frying. And then the issue with roasting is that unlike baking, when you bake, there will be absence of smoke. Smoke will not engulf your food when you bake. But when you roast, there's no way that you roast and smoke will not engulf the food. And then by the time you roast food to the point that it gets dark and crispy, then it returns free radicals to the system. So please, let's take note that the healthy methods of preparing our food are boiling and baking. Okay, let's try to avoid frying and roasting. Okay, now let's look at the third part, the eating habit. The eating habit is also very, 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 very important. Now that you have made the right choice, you have prepared it in a healthy way, then your eating habit comes next, and it's not something that you should trivialize at all. So I'm going to give us maybe about 4 tips on how to eat right. But when you get the material that I just introduced to us, you get some other tips there. But because of the exigency of time, and I know that we may also want to ask questions, so I will quickly give 4 tips on how to eat right. I will allow questions. Okay, are we still together? All right. Now let's look at this eating habit. I want to give 4 tips quickly. The first one, I would say, eat the right food at the right time. Eat the right food at the right time. That really, really matters a lot. Unfortunately, some people are not aware that some foods are meant for breakfast, while some foods are meant for lunch, and some foods are meant for supper. Some people have no idea at all. Because I had to ask some participants in a lecture I gave some time ago with some corporate people in the morning around 7 a.m. So I threw that question to them. I asked them, how many of them had eaten breakfast that morning? This lecture took place in Lagos, and then I didn't expect anybody to tell me that he had eaten breakfast because that question was posed to them around 7 a.m. But surprisingly, somebody stood up in that meeting and said with pride that he had eaten breakfast before he came to work that morning. So I asked him that, sir, what time do you eat breakfast? And he told me that he usually eats his breakfast 6 a.m. And I said, well, fine. One can eat breakfast 6 a.m. if you are hungry. We wake up at times to feel hungry and then, your body is craving for food. Yeah, you can eat breakfast around 6 a.m. But what you eat is what really matters. So I asked him, what does he normally eat for 6 a.m.? Honestly, as a corporate person, I thought he was going to mention, some of these cereals, that we eat for breakfast, like custard, like oats, like that. To my surprise, he didn't mention any of those ones. You can guess what he said that he normally, eats for breakfast. He said eba and okra soup. And that surprised me because I don't think that a corporate person should go for a okra soup 6 a.m. Because if it's somebody, like a farmer now or somebody who can understand, but not somebody, because really, we cannot eat heavy cooked food early in the morning like fine, but it's good food, it's an unrefined carbohydrate, but it's not meant for early morning. It should be taken to like late morning. We have early morning between 6 and 8, then we have late morning between 11, 10, 11, 12. So that time, yes, the body is already ready to deal with that heavy cooked food. Because by the time you eat eba or any heavy cooked food in the morning, early in the morning, you interrupt a process that takes place in your body that early morning. That process is called detoxification process. You notice that many times in the morning you wake up, the first thing you do is to go to the bathroom and you are trying to defecate and you're detoxifying. So it's not the time to now eat heavy cooked food because it will interrupt that process and then you won't be able to evacuate all those fecal matters properly. So we should please take note of that. So if you are hungry, you want to take breakfast, it should be something in something in fluid form, something that will not stress your digestive system. Okay, but from late morning, let's say 10, 11, thereabout, you can then start to eat your heavy cooked carbohydrate because you need that in the daytime because you get glucose from it. Glucose is the energy that you get from those carbohydrates. You need it because of your up and down during the day. Because if you don't have enough glucose, enough calorie that will commensurate with the kind of activity that you do, that can also result into serious health issues. There is a disease that is called hypoglycemia, too low blood sugar. So you need to understand that. And then, of course, in the evening, yes, in the evening, you don't need as much carbohydrates, you need more of protein because your body is no longer active in the night, you're going to bed, and you don't need to stress your digestive system while you are asleep. We should go for more of protein because there's also a particular nutrient that gets from protein that helps to rejuvenate your cell, and that is amino acid. So you should go for more protein in the evening, and the supper should not go beyond 7 p.m. Maximum. If you eat between 5 and 7, you are good to go. So the body will have rested well before it goes to bed, and then you'll be able to sleep, and the body will rejuvenate. So, and then you wake up in the morning very strong, and you are good to go for the day. So that's the way to go about it. So the second tip that I want to say is that we should combine our food properly because combination of food is also very, 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 very important. Some people combine food in a very, very, very funny way. Some people will just mix carbohydrates heavy in the same meal. I've seen somebody before, was eating rice with spaghetti with yam. That kind of combination will take a longer time to digest. So you focus on one carbohydrate per time. And if you are going to add protein to it, be very, very careful. Protein and carbohydrates should not be the same portion in a meal. Otherwise, they will neutralize each other and will not digest properly. So one has to slow down for another. So if it is daytime that you want to eat your meal, carbohydrate will be bulkier, will be more than protein. If it's in the evening, protein will be more than carbohydrate. That's the way to combine food. And I've seen something that is also very funny that some people do when they take fruit. They combine fruits anyhow. But there's a particular menu now that people, take. Uh, they call it a fruit salad, where they jam, they cut banana, they add it with mango, and they add it with watermelon, purple, and rest of them. Now, let me quickly advise that we should not combine fruits that way. Now, vegetable is what you can eat in form of salad. Vegetable like cabbage, carrot, cucumber, lettuce. Those are that you can make in form of salad, not fruits, because some fruits are fast digesting while some are slow digesting. So you should understand that and don't combine fruits anyhow. For instance, watermelon is very fast digesting. It takes just 30 minutes to digest. While banana is slow digesting, banana takes 1 hour to digest. What am I even saying? It takes Yeah, it's like 4 hours to digest. Yeah, 4 hours, banana. So imagine you are taking watermelon on top of banana. You can't ask watermelon to hold on for banana to digest first before it takes its on. No, it's not. It doesn't work that way. So we should be careful the way we combine fruits. Okay, so we should be very, very mindful of the fast digesting one and slow digesting one. And now the third one I want to give, the third tip is that I've also seen that many people are guilty of is that I want to advise that we should eat our food fresh. We should eat fresh food and eat it fresh. Now, what I mean by that is that eating fresh food and eating it fresh is when you're going to the market to shop for your vegetables, for your meat, for your fish, make sure they are fresh ones. Make sure they are fresh ones because your body can only be served with fresh food. And when those food are prepared, eat them fresh. Eat them fresh because some people have the habit of preparing food and then they will portion it into freezer and freeze it for several days, some for weeks, some for months, and they bring it out and reheat it and start eating. That is no longer food because some of those food enzymes will have been destroyed with that kind of. So the best way to get your body served with the right nutrients from food is to eat them fresh, not more than 48 hours when you prepare food. You are done with it, and so that's. And then I will give this last one, and maybe we'll allow some questions. This last one, I will say that don't overeat. Don't overeat. Because a lot of us overeat and then it results into some serious health problems. And some of us are even we are not even aware that we overeat. Some people are not aware at all. Uh, there are two ways to know, two practical ways to know if you overeat. Two practical ways. Number one, whenever you eat food to the point that you are feeling dizzy on that food, that you're almost sleeping on it, and that to get up to even go wash your hands or to take your dishes to the kitchen becomes an issue for you, then it's a case of overeating. Because what research has shown is that what has happened is that the heavy meal that you have eaten has forced your organ to switch off. They had to switch off your digestive system to have enough power to digest that. Your brain has switched off. That's why you are feeling dizzy. So you don't eat to the point that you are feeling dizzy because it's a case of overeating. And then the second way to know is that you consider your level of activity. If you are, not working so rigorously, so intensely, then you should make sure that your food is very, very moderate. For instance, if you are not a mechanic now, if you are not a bricklayer, if you are not a carpenter, those ones that work so intensely, so rigorously, can still eat, big, but not somebody who doesn't work that way. For instance, I gave a teacher a ride one, a teacher, and in my presence, she bought two big loaves of bread. This one that mostly are sold for like 1.5 now. It's too big, and I was wondering that maybe she has a large family, maybe about 7 members or 8 who deal with those bread for breakfast. So I asked her, I said, Madam, do you have a large family? You must have a large family to buy two big loaves. You know what she said to me? She said, which large family? That only her will finish one loaf. And I look at that loaf for teacher. This is a teacher, it's not a bricklayer. She will finish one loaf of that bread. That loaf contains about 22 slices. And the teacher's calorie per day, throughout the day, that they must take from food is just 1,800. So when you multiply the calorie of a slice of bread, which is 68, you then multiply with 22 slices that contain in that big loaf, then you are getting 1,300. That's what she will have taken, And then, of course, she will not even take the bread alone. She will take it with other things that also have calories. For instance, if she takes it with tea, all these beverages that we like to take that are made of cocoa, cocoa tea, they are very high in calories. That's why they deliberately advertise those drinks with footballers and athletes because they are meant for them. But for those of us that work in the office, if you want to take all those cocoa tea, it's advisable that you use tea cup and a teaspoon to measure it. By the time you take 4 teaspoons in 1 teacup, and then you add whatever you want to add, you're already taking 100 calories. But hardly can you see anybody using teacups now to mix their, cocoa tea now anywhere. You see people with all manner of cups, all manner of containers. I saw one cup in one man's office the other day, that stainless cup that has cover and that has candle. And I was surprised that what they use in meeting tea for him, and the thing is filled up. So I was like, how many teacups can we find in this? How many calories are in this thing? So we need to be very careful. We need to be able to understand the calorie that we take and let it commensurate with the kind of activity that we do. Otherwise, they will return back to free radical, to overweight, to obesity, or even to high blood sugar and the rest of them. And that will not really help us. So please, let's take note of that and be very, very careful. And let's try to free ourselves from addictions of food. Some people are addicted to food. Some people are addicted to sugar. Some people are addicted to salt. Some people are addicted to flour. Some people are addicted to fat. Let's try to free ourselves from those addictions so that we can stay healthy. I'd like to close this lecture. Let me close this with this thought of a great philosopher. His name is Napoleon Hill. He said, and I quote, "It is not more education, it is not more facts, it is not more knowledge that we need to have, but a better use of what we already have is what we need to have." Unquote. So let us make a better use of what we have had today. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. God bless you.
Thank you, guys. Please get into the chat room and jam your hand together for our guest speaker, Mr. Taiwo Babatope. Please let me feel, let's show him some love. Yes, get into the chat room, type your things, show your clap. Let's see. Let's show him how much we appreciate. You said a lot, so let me not start. Okay, let me start with this, and then we leave it open. How do we get your book? Is it in hard copy? Is it in soft copy? And how does that work?
Okay, it's in hard copy, and it costs just 1,000 naira.
Okay.
So it's just 1,000 naira, and if we want to get individually, of course, each person can reach me through my contact, or if you want to get it as a group, it's also all well and good. So that's
all right. Thank you for that. So the floor is open. I have plenty of questions, but let me not be the one to start. So if you want, you could type, but if you can speak, the better. If you can speak, the better. But if you prefer to type, please go ahead. The floor is open for questions now. The floor is open for questions. If you can speak, just unmute your mic and go for it.
Hello. Good evening, sirs. Good evening, everyone.
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. So my question is, first off, thank you very much, sir, for that session.
Please, can you just introduce yourself and tell us where you're speaking from? Lagos, Jamaica, or Kano, or something like that?
Okay. My name is Donald. I'm speaking from Lagos, Nigeria.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay. So my question is, you mentioned that we should eat our food fresh, right? Now, I don't know if the likes of tomato and pepper, are in that category. Because one thing I do is I buy in bulk. Do you get and I can store for a month or more. So I want to know: are you saying that is a bad way of keeping your pepper, tomato and all? That's my question, sir.
All right. Thank you very much for that question. Now, as long as those vegetables are not prepared, if you buy them and you decide to freeze them, as long as they are not prepared, it's okay, it's healthy. But once you already prepared them, they already prepared them in form of soup.
Please, can you elaborate on what you mean by prepare?
Yeah, cook.
Okay, so if we blend and stock, that's fine. Is that what you are saying?
That's no problem. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, as long as it's not cooked.
Okay, because I also have a question along that line. Let me ask, and any other person can add. So, the issue with, and this has been practical in very urbanized cities like Lagos. So, the issue of cooking once and then portioning it into the freezer and then being able to bring it out per portion. And the distinction I'm trying to make is, if you cook in bulk, portion it in per meal portion, meaning you are only bringing heating, and then eating at once, meaning you are not cooking in bulk and reheating everything time and time and time again. Does it make any difference?
Yes, it does. It does. That is still better. It's still better because the issue is that the more you eat,
okay,
the more chances of food poisoning.
Okay.
So if it's just eating once and you eat, at once, that way is still better than just reheating several times.
Okay. Yes, the floor is open. I have plenty questions. So I do not want to hijack the mic. So please, if you have any question, unmute and just ask.
All right. I have a question, or I have questions. One of them, can I go ahead?
Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much, sir, for this session, and it was quite practical. So the one about freezing has been partly answered because
the one about freezing, what?
The point about freezing your food.
Yes,
because it's a lifesaver. One might not be able to always cook, and in Lagos, so freezing and then keeping and then when you eat. So it says that portioning it and reheating the one you want to just eat is okay. So now about the point of eating dinner by 7. Some of us are just heading home by 7 o'clock. So I want to ask, is it all right if a person eats, for example, at 9, but they're not going to sleep till maybe 11? Is that fine? That's my first question. My other question is about food choices. So in Nigeria, rice is quite a staple food. It's easily accessible, is easy to cook. It's, it just makes everything easy. But when you look at the average person, you have rice, you may have amala, you may have beans, it just looks like there's a lot of options. And I want you to please suggest to us what other foods we can eat that would benefit us and are not necessarily rice. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yes. The first question about dinner by 7 o'clock. Now,
dinner by 9.
By 9, yes. You said that if you eat dinner by 9 and then you don't go to bed immediately, you go by 11. Now, is it still okay? Considering the kind of job that you do. Now, let me first say this: that these laws that we have, highlighted there, are not respecters of anybody. They don't respect who you are, where you work. You just can't afford to break them. Okay, otherwise you suffer the consequences. So you have to look for a way around it. And then eating dinner by 9 o'clock, and then because you want to now stay up and allow the food to digest or before you go to bed. Now, fine, it's okay. But I want you to understand something here, that early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy. Okay, so if you are not going to bed early, you're also going to have an issue because the body rejuvenates between that early hours of sleep, that's between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. If you can take those 4 hours as a stretch, yes, it has help your body. That's a sleep therapy that you have gotten for that day. Okay. So if you keep skipping that, you are going to bed by 11, by 12 because of your late dinner. Then, of course, you're going to deprive yourself from that rejuvenation that your body needs, that takes place early hour of the night. You understand what I'm trying to say. So, but if it is once in a while that happens, maybe you just happen to come home late, and then of course, yeah, you can eat late, okay? But it becomes an issue when it's now a routine. That is what you do every day of your life, because that will also affect your of course mental health too, because you won't be able to rest well. Your body will not rejuvenate. That can result to high blood pressure and some other issues. So you have to look for a way around this and make sure that you don't break this law. Otherwise, you're just going to break yourself against this. Okay.
Okay, sir. So before you leave this question, let me ride on it. And again, like I said, this platform is about experience sharing. And I would like you to please, and I love the way you've engaged us, being very practical. So I'd like you to please engage this question from a practical standpoint. Now, on the back of the question you just answered, two things in my head. One, how does the circadian rhythm come into this conversation? And I'll give you an example. Part of what I do involves working with software developers. And I'm also on the journey to learn myself. And it is similar to a lot of people that are in this creative space. For some reason, it just seems like that dead of the night, when everything is quiet, whether you want it or not, it is quiet. No bank can call you. There is very minimal you can do in those hours. For some reason, it just seems that those hours are the most productive hours for these guys. So you now see us starting to talk about code from like 10 to 11. And 7 a.m. is when these guys are now going to bed. What does that, and so if you tie it back to the circadian rhythm, where after a while, does the fact that that is their pattern, does it change anything? Or is it like what we call it in software development? Is it a technical deficit that they will eventually have to pay for somewhere down the line? How do you advise in this kind of scenario?
All right. Before I go to that, I remember that the last speaker asked two questions.
Yes.
And I only did the other question that he asked was about, he was asking that.
Any other suggestion apart from rice? So all we are doing in our life is not just eating rice, being the only thing available.
Yes, that's the reason why I recommended that book. Do you understand? That they will see other options, based on individual blood group. Because I cannot generalize now.
Yeah.
I can't generalize. So based on it, they will see those other options. Then again, well, for rice, I want to advise that they should go for the Nigerian rice, because the Nigerian rice is healthier than the foreign one. Since we eat rice all the time, so what you eat all the time should be something that is healthy, so that it won't affect your health. Okay, so that's my advice on that. Now, for this group of people that work in the night, that they're active in the night, that's their productive time. Now, fine. My advice to them is that they should not make it a prolonged thing. For instance, in a week now, we have about 7 days in a week. They should not make it a habit to stay up all through the 7 days in the week, because it's going to have a serious adverse effect on their mental health and eventually. So what I would advise is that they should look for a way of breaking it. They could do 2 days at a stretch and then break it maybe for another 2 days, maybe, and then go again. So it could be like 2 days on, 2 days off, so that will allow their body to also enjoy some rest, because if they just take it.
I don't want to overflow this question, but just to add some perspective, I'm saying if they are now able to sleep between 7 and say 1 o'clock every day.
Oh, 7 a.m.
Yeah, so they walk through the night, and when everybody is now waking up, they are just going to bed, but is able to shut down and have 7 sound hours of sleep. Does that change anything?
Because you see, it does not really it cannot really be sufficient, for the can't take the place of the one that you do in the night, because the way the body is programmed, that night time, the body must rest. That's the way the body is programmed, and it must not deprive the body of that rest. It must not deprive it. So that's why I said they should not make it a prolonged thing. They can break it. That's why you find out that most people that are really stressed are people that work permanent night shifts. Is an issue. If you then decide to sleep, yes, in the daytime, it cannot still cover up for the one you have missed in the night. It can't. Of course, it will help, but it can't cover up for it.
Well said. Any other question? Me, I have plenty questions. So let me know, hijack the mic. Any other question? You can unmute and ask. Any other question? Any other question? Nothing is in the chat room. Okay. So while they are trying to think, you said, sir, that roasting is not very recommended. Does that affect Boli?
Of course it does. Because
so are we saying that Boli is not good now, that we should stop eating Boli?
Well, if you bake it, it's better. But if you roast it,
people along the road are not baking. What they are doing is roasting.
And that's the problem. That's the problem.
So even this roasted corn that we eat, you are saying that free radical, what did you call it?
It's unhealthy too. It's unhealthy as well. It's unhealthy as well. The issue is that if you take them once in a while, you can still go scot-free. You can still go scot-free. But if you keep taking them all the time, those bad effects will start accumulating in your body.
You know what they call party rice? Party rice that has smoke inside it. It's a special rice. So, and our great grandfathers have been eating this thing like that.
Okay.
So what do you say?
Well,
even Igbo people are trying to find a way to do firewood cooking so that they can get the roast effect inside it.
That's what I'm saying. I say this once in a while. Do you understand? Party is not every day now. Party is not an everyday thing. Do you understand?
It's okay,
once
sir.
in a while. It's once in a while.
Okay. Then, when you were talking about how food is prepared, is processing a part? Is it an example of how? So you have boil, fry, baking, roasting. Would you call processing? Because like all these highly processed food, by the time some food even come, you can eat out of the package.
Yeah.
So from what you've said, we should, as much as we can, avoid that. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay. So we talk about fry. There is something they call air fryer. Doesn't use oil. Where is that in all this conversation?
That's not, that's all this deception. That does not fry. You can't fry with air. That's roasting. You can't fry with air. They have to just call it air fryer.
So the reason why they call it air fryer is because it tries to work with the fat in the thing that is being fried. It tries to fry it with the oil that is contained in the meal being fried, does that
Have you-
change
have you-
anything?
Have you tasted something that is prepared with air fryer?
Air fry, yes, I have.
Yeah. Now, how does it taste?
I'm not an expert though. It tastes like food.
Okay, because if you use air fryer now to fry maybe yam, for instance, you understand the same taste you will get from roasted yam is the same thing you get from it.
Okay. So meaning you are not
That-
recommending air fryer either.
No, I'm just saying that they should not use that word for it. Do you understand?
Okay.
It's actually in the category of roasting. Do you understand something?
I get you.
It's not.
But okay. And
okay.
whatever you
As long-
said about roasting is
the problem with anything roasting that has to do with smoke is the one that has issue. If smoke has to engulf the food.
But this
and if
one
you
doesn't have smoke. Does that mean it's fine?
That's okay. Yes, that's okay. My own issue with this is the way they call it frying. That's the problem I have with it.
Okay.
It's a good form of food.
One for bread, I love it, Jenny, but it's okay. When you were talking about fruits, please, anybody else can unmute and ask questions. It's because there is silence. I just want to ask my own. Does anybody have any question? Anybody ready to ask a question? So when you were talking about fruits, you said we shouldn't be mixing fruits that digest quickly with the ones that may take some time to digest. And the question in my head is, what is the problem? If I take watermelon with banana, watermelon will digest and do his own work and go his way. Banana is there, will take his own time and digest in due course and then go its way. Must they all digest at the same time? What is the problem if I mix it that way?
The problem is that fermentation will set in. Fermentation will set in because watermelon that will take 30 minutes to digest will need to hold on for banana to take its own time first. So fermentation will set in. And
so are we saying that when we eat, everything must, so anything we consume together must be digested together? Is that what we are saying?
Now, yes, they will digest, of course, they are all going through digestive system. Do you understand? At the same time, but the issue is that if one has to digest faster than the other one, it will affect that the digestive process in the system, and the fermentation neutralization will set in. So that's why at times they advise us that when you even eat your food, you stay away from water. You don't drink water immediately on the food. You allow the food to digest first before you take water. I don't know if you've had that
yes,
advice.
I've had, and again, thank you very much for what you've shared. And one of the things I was going to advise everybody on the call or everybody that will watch this thereafter is, I think we all need to pay more attention to read up more and just equip ourselves with more knowledge, because we probably are flying at 35,000 feet above sea level right now. A lot of things still need to be better elaborated upon. And I will try, and I would like to get your book to see how it can help. But the point is there's so much to learn, and everybody needs to just get very intentional with how we eat.
Yeah.
There is a whole lot that you have said that needs some fine details of engagement, and I'm happy that you have set us in that direction.
Yeah.
Any question before I ask my last set of questions?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Christy. I'm from Lagos. So concerning this water and food combination, as for me, if I am eating, in fact, the moment I take the second scoop, I must take water, else hiccups. So what do I do in this case? Because I will not even be able, I have to drink that water before I continue eating. So I cannot wait for food to stay a while before I drink water, else I'll be having hiccups.
And if I
continuously.
ride on that so that Mr. Babatope can answer together, I've also read some school of thought that said if you don't take water as you are eating, it doesn't help, that the digestive process is more difficult. The illustration I've heard is like when you take your pepper to the mill and the miller is supposed to mill it. As they are milling it, they need to add water for it to turn quickly through the grind, so it gets ground, so that it mills faster. The question, and then I've also read about when you eat, you give it time to digest before you take water. Some will say you take fruit before you eat. Some will take fruit after you have eaten. Can you elaborate on all of these, sir?
Okay. You see, now the issue with water is like my sister that said, she doesn't feel comfortable whenever she's eating and she doesn't have water by her side. Now, my advice to her is that she should try and be doing what we call water therapy. Now, when you wake up in the morning, you try to take at least 2 glasses of water. What that will do for you to go ahead to activate to your organs, to lubricate your lung and, so that by the time you want to take your meal, you will not feel all those feelings, hiccup and this or that you feel, you won't. If you are the type that takes water, normally water should be taken first thing in the morning, like 2 glasses, and then you try and stay without water with your meal. Okay, not that you stay for long like that. After 30 minutes or 1 hour after, you can start taking water again during the day. You take a lot of water during the day, or not with your meal. Now, the issue with taking water with your meal, the nutrition gave is a different thing entirely. That when you grind the pepper, you add water. Our digestive system is not like a grinder. Our digestive system has a way it functions. For instance, now when you eat food, your food first lands in your stomach and stay there for about 4 hours. And after that, it goes away from that stomach. Notice when you eat food, your stomach will protrude a little. Then after the while, the stomach will go back in. This is that the food has left that stomach, it has gone into your small intestine, and it will stay there for another 2 hours. After that, it leaves that place, go to your large intestine, and stay there for 2 hours. So that during that movement, nutrients are being absorbed, the fecal matter are being sewage to where it should go and everything. Now that's the way digestive system is. Now, if you now eat food, before the food can really go through that process properly, that stomach must be at a certain temperature to aid it, to help it. Now, when you take water, too much water on your food, it inactivates, it will lower down on that temperature, and it may not really help that process to take place. That's why it's advised that take your water during the day, but not with your meal. So water therapy is the way to go about. You wake up in the morning and you take 1 or 2 glasses. Find out when you're eating, you will not feel that need to want to. And if you feel the need, just take little, not so much. And the worst, the worst of this all is when you now take cold water, chilled water. Some people have that habit. They can't eat anything. They must go for chilled water. I see people in the restaurant, very chilled water. Now, your water should be at room temperature if it is not sunny, if you are not, if you must even take water by your meal, it should be at room temperature and it should not be much so that it won't lower that temperature in your body so that the food, because there's a certain temperature that the stomach requires to help that digestive process to work properly. So that's the point.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing. Any other question? You can unmute or you can type.
Okay, sorry. So one more thing. This fruit combination again. How do I know the duration that it will take a particular fruit to digest? before the other? Do I have to first Google what I want to eat before I mix them? Because
just look at those foods. Those ones in water form, they're just faster than the one that are not in water form. Do you understand? Like orange is in water form, water form. Do you understand? Mango also has, and so those are just faster than those ones that are not like banana now, like pawpaw. Those ones take longer time. That's the simple way to know about it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other question?
Hello, good evening. My name is Nokwemiko and I'm calling from Ibadan. So I want to find out, so in some instances, when we try to eat, we don't necessarily cover all the nutritional bases that we need to be healthy. So I want you, sir, to speak on supplements. What is your take on it? And do you advise people to take supplements to cover for things that they are unable to eat, maybe due to their access to those meals that contain those particular nutrients, or whatever reasons they may have? Is it advisable to take supplements instead?
All right. Now, supplements should be complementary. It should not be a substitute to your food. You cannot all the time be taking supplement and you are skipping your meal. The best way to get nutrients from food to your system is through your food. Now, fine, you may not get all the nutrients, because some of these nutrients will have been destroyed during cooking and rest of them. So that's why supplements are recommended to just, add to the nutrients that you may be, that may not be enough. So, but you have to be very careful. Also know the ingredients that are made of those supplements, because just like food, because those supplements are extracts from food as well, from certain leaves and rest of them. If you just take them indiscriminately, you might also have a problem. You need to know the ingredients, where they are coming from. Whether those ingredients are suitable for your own blood type. For instance, now we have supplement that is from aloe vera, we have supplement that is from alfalfa, we have supplements from ginger, we have supplements from all sorts of. So when you have the book, you'll be able to know the ingredients that are suitable for you. So once you lay your hand on the supplement, you just look at the ingredients and you know, okay, these ingredients will be okay for my blood type, and you are good to go. But like you said, just see it as complementary. Don't see it as a substitute. You can't ever substitute your meal. Okay?
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Okwemipo. Any other question? Any other question? Any other question? Going, gone. I would like to think that this content that we have here today is a reference content, is something you may want to check out time and time again, in addition to all the other things that are available out there. This generation, we can no longer be ignorant. Anything we do not know is purely because we are not interested. So information is now more available on our fingertips. And like Mr. Babatope has said, knowledge is increasing. So, I mean, until recently, I've never heard that blood group has anything to do with diet. They used to do like protein is good for everybody, this is good for everybody, that's good for everybody. So many of these things, the jury are still out on it. Many of these things, new knowledge is coming. So the bigger value of this session is that you realize, very consciously so, that your health is your foundational wealth, and you can therefore not leave it to chance. Some people, they are not accountants, but they've equipped themselves and trained themselves on investment. if you are not healthy, your money has no use for you. It's the next door neighbor or family that is healthy that's going to spend that money. So the bigger takeout for me, therefore, from this series is that, one, you prioritize your wellness. You have to be deliberate. Wellness is not going to emerge. It's not just going to appear. You have to prioritize it. Number two is that you must then watch for your choices and your habits. When John was asking around about eating late, calls to mind one of my senior brothers who was working with an oil company. He's an accountant. If you know accountants, our lives are very sedentary. Sit down hours on end, get home late, eat late dinner. As he was approaching his middle age, 50, getting on to 60, he started having serious back issues, terrible back issues. If you've had that kind of problem before, you know what I'm talking about. To sit up, to stand up, to do anything became a problem. It became very medical. In fact, at some point, surgery was contemplated. And one of the things that was then recommended was that he had to lose weight. He had to watch his choices, and his options. And what looked like impossible before, he now had to start adjusting his lifestyle. So he will now have to eat his dinner in the office before he heads home, because usually it's in the office about 7:07. So he must eat before he heads home so that he will not have to be eating at 9 p.m. And slowly he has been able to turn the dial back a bit. So the point, therefore, is you have to be intentional. We all have to be intentional about our choices. Many of these things are technical deficits, and I speak more to myself than anybody else here. Many of the things that we are doing today that doesn't look like anything is happening, if we don't, that's why our guest speaker said, it's about the balance. It's about the balance. Make sure you balance it out. The things to avoid, the things to minimize, the things to prioritize. But if we don't work on achieving those balance, if nothing is happening today, let's not take it for granted that nothing will happen tomorrow. So you have to prioritize your wellness. You have to be very intentional about your choices. And number three, we all need to keep developing our knowledge in that space, because it's not changing very rapidly. New knowledge is coming. Some things that we held sacrosanct and non-negotiable are now being challenged. And now we have evidence-based medicine. So you don't need to go too far before you see why they're saying this and why they're saying that. But in summary, whatever you do, you have to prioritize you. You have to look after yourself. You have to be intentional about your wellness. And like I said at the beginning, we've gone through a series. We did February for introduction. We did medical in March. We did mental in April. We are concluding nutritional now. We have the plan to have another run of mental wellness in June next month. On the back of that, we will then go to physical wellness, activity, water, sleep. They are related. We all try to cover everything, and God helping us and Jesus starring in August, we intend to close it with the financial wellness. Like I said, there's no fun without fund. So we all need to find a way to get everything to balance. This is the landscape. If you have missed any of this, can the producer please just drop the link to our YouTube channel, Development, Empowerment, and Leadership Initiative. All these recordings are there. For the ones you've missed, you can go back and watch. For this one, if you want to hear it again, you can always go back and watch them. And there are many other, I'm sure it's close to 200 videos now on that channel that you could use. So that's the link dropped in the chat room. Please copy it out so that you don't lose it when the meeting ends. Or if you want to remember, just go to YouTube and type Development, Empowerment, and Leadership Initiative and help yourself to the servings that you have there. The name of this product is called HeyCoach, and the whole essence is to have coaching services available on the go. We have a Telegram community, which we are building slowly, and these are our socials. We encourage you to join so that if you have anything, I mean, in the multitude of counsel, there is safety. That's what the Bible says. So don't take decisions blind. Don't guess. You are not sure? Ask questions. Let others share their perspective with you. Even if all they are helping you to do is to identify the variables that should drive your decisions, you are in a better position. That is the whole essence of this particular product from the NGO. So stop experimenting, stop paying for your own knowledge and your own journey. Learn from other people's journey so that you don't repeat the mistakes. So after this program, we like to keep the conversation going on those our social handles. Anytime, you can always feel free to drop, because this community is very wide. We have people from Europe, we have those from the Americas, we have Nigeria. Usually somebody's awake, irrespective of what time of the day or night it is that you have an issue. And if you do not want the questions to be traced to you, just check out who the admins are, drop your question with them directly and say, this is for the HeyCoach community. We will then drop the question in the group chat, and that can protect your anonymity if that is very important to you. On behalf of everybody here, before we go, I would just like to thank our guest speaker again, Mr. Taiwo Babatope. Thank you very much. We do not take your kindness and your good-heartedness. We do not take it for granted. Thank you very much for your time today. And for those who have taken the time to be here as well, without you, there will be no program. So thank you so much for making out the time. As usual, we have a 3-question survey. It takes less than 60 seconds to complete. We have a 3-question survey that we will be displaying now. Please don't drop off without completing the survey. It just helps us to know how well we are reaching you, how much of what you're looking for we are addressing, so that we can get better. And if you know anybody that should be listening to this program, or that should have listened to some of the programs, some of the content that we have on the channel, feel free to share the link with them and encourage them to subscribe, because as new contents come on, you get notified. On that note, I would like to thank you once again for making it a date this week with us. It is sincerely very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and be intentional. Mark your calendar, book that day. We're having